Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Monday. It is Monday. I am all over the place. Oy, ay, ay. I know. All right, I'm going to wait for some people to come on. But I have decided that we are going to live up to the title of the Aloha Perspective this week. We're going to cover mana. We're going to cover ha, which is ha breathing. We are going to cover, what's the other one? For Self-Care Wednesday, just kind of the joy of being, and we're going to go over the mana and the ha. And then on the last day, on Thursday, we are going to cover the meaning of aloha. So good morning, Muddy. I got your message, and one of us is patient. So anyways, I am a little couple minutes late. For those of you watching on the replay, you will not notice. But for those of you who come on live, I apologize. I really needed my hot cocoa this morning. Normally I would have coffee, but I felt like the cocoa today because I found the pumpkin spice cocoa. So anyway, and I went out with my cousins yesterday and we went GWing and I found a mug and I love it. And my cocoa's cold now. Damn. So that's just what you wanted, right? To hear me slurping in the morning. So anyways, good morning, Cousin Jeannie. And here's my mug. Here's my mug. That's right. My mug. So, my cousin was with me yesterday when I got it. I was so excited. They had another one that said pumpkin spice and chill. And I thought, first of all, I'm not home. So I gotta pick and choose what I want. And secondly, I don't think I'd use it any other time of year except fall, so what's the point? But this one, year round, baby. Year round. So anyways, let's get to it. Today, we're going to talk about mana. We're going to talk about mana. And M-A-N-A. So I'm just going to read through this, and then we'll go over it, okay? So in Hawaiian, the word mana refers to spiritual power, authority, or energy that exists within people, places, and objects. It is a powerful, sacred, and life-giving force that can be gained or lost depending on a person's actions and choices, not material possessions. Living righteously, showing respect, and connecting with community helps increase the mana. So what mana represents: spiritual power, a divine energy within us, life force, an invisible energy that flows through all things. Authority, power in a general sense like parental authority or mana makua. To me, it is a responsibility or a sense of it. So I'll elaborate on that. Charisma and presence. A person with strong mana can have a positive influence and light up the room. How mana is gained and lost. Gaining mana, living with pono, or morality and righteousness, acting respectfully, serving the community, and choosing meaningful work can strengthen one's mana. Actions can also lead to a loss of mana, skewed moral compass, or as it is seen as a dynamic force. Skewed moral compass. Cultural significance, the connection. Mana is a fundamental thread that connects Hawaiian people to their past, present, and future, as well as each other. I personally believe all people have it. They just call it by different things. Sacredness. Places and things with a lot of mana are considered special, sacred, and set apart. And last but not least, internal power. The principle of mana emphasizes that true power comes from within. So, let's get to this. Oh my God. I am sorry. I am sure Jeannie can feel it, because if I were a bird, I could fly to her house in like 30 seconds. And 10 of those seconds would be just lifting up from the ground. But it is freaking humid today. This is like Sammy humid. Sammy humid. Speaking of Sammy humid, I was watching the baseball game the other day, and one of the sideline guys came up, and he was so funny, because Sammy and I talk about, because she lives in Atlanta, talk about it all the time, how icky their weather is. It's basically like Hawaii weather, but without the trade wind. So Hawaiians are lucky because they get a trade wind, right? But so let's talk about Atlanta, because they were talking about different games around the league that affect playoff standings, and it's still about 500 degrees and humid. I was laughing so hard I had to tell Sammy, and he's not far off. So anyways, let's get to this. Mana. In Hawaiian, the word mana refers to spiritual power, authority, or energy that exists within people, places, and objects. It is a powerful and sacred and life-giving force that can be gained or lost depending on a person's actions and choices, not material possessions. Living righteously, showing respect, and connecting with community helps increase the mana. So if you're the kind of person that thinks the more I have, the better I am than everybody else, no. It doesn't hurt to share those things, right? Or your time. Time is the most precious thing that you will ever be able to share. Not money, not possessions, but time. My cousin, for instance, she has been volunteering at her church. She painted classrooms, and I think that's great. And she's like, I love it, and there's a little bit of physical labor in that. I've painted some places, one or two in my past. My last boyfriend was a painter, so sometimes when I was bored, I'd go help. But yeah, it's not easy. But you do it because you're giving back, right? Or Sammy, I know Sammy used to work with the kids in her church. I don't know if you still do. So if you do, I'm sorry. Older sibling likes to do things for other people. She's not on right now, and then there's me. My mom is sitting in there, but, and back home, but seriously, we don't do it because we want something from it. So just so you know, mana, ha, aloha, and all these other things that we're going to cover this week, they're all going to kind of cross each other in meaning and whatnot, because they all kind of belong together. They're like a little tiny family of words, and they're more than just words, they're feelings. The best way to express aloha is it's like love. It's not just a word, it's a feeling. It's a way of living. It's a way of life. And the way that, we share in that aloha, or we increase that aloha, is by strengthening our mana, and you might see, I think The Rock, I think Dwayne Johnson has a brand called Mana. I'm almost positive, but that, and I like that because it's not really a word that belongs to people. It's just, it belongs to everybody. But I like that because it's spreading it. Because even though it says here that it's, culturally significant amongst the Hawaiians, I truly believe all people have it. But again, we just call it something different. And, in some cultures, we may not even know what to call it, right? Some people might call it karma. Some people might call it, your spiritual prowess or whatever. But, I don't know, I just made that up. But I think everybody has it. And if you're not sure what it is, but you have that feeling, you now have a word for it. So welcome. Because, even though Hawaii is a place. And it's, in the United States, if you're born in a certain state, you become a child of that state, right? So if you're born in New York, you're a New Yorker. If you're born in Georgia, you're a Georgian. If you're born in, Oregon, you're an Oregonian. I think that's what it is. If you're born in California, you're a Californian. And there's really no blood ties to it, right? But if you're born in Hawaii, there's two types of Hawaiians. You have the bloodline, which is what I am, and you have the person born in that state, which is also what I am. So, so I got a double whammy. I'm double Hawaiian. But there is bloodline, and then there's that. And I think, people that live there a long time, you don't have to be born in Hawaii to understand the spirit of mana, aloha, or even the ha. It's a feeling. It's about really kind of just stepping outside and just soaking in all the magic that Hawaii has to offer. Personally, I was born in Hawaii, but I've lived here since I was 3 months old. So to be honest, I actually consider myself more of a Californian, but I still have that bloodline Hawaiian from my father. So, and that's not really why I did the Aloha Perspective. I think part of it was I've really been trying to connect to my Hawaiian side. I've always tried to connect to my Hawaiian side, but sometimes I'd go back, I'd go back every summer, and I had a cousin. I'm going to be honest. I had a cousin that liked to bully me. And he'd always call me a haole. He'd always call me this. He'd call me that. And I was never Hawaiian enough for him because I didn't live there. Because, and the thing is, he and I both have about the same amount of Hawaiian in us, actual blood Hawaiian. And it's just like, really? So, and so you are going to sometimes come across these people that think they're better than you because, well, you're not a true Georgian. You're not a true Oregonian. You're not a true Californian. Well, screw them. Okay. Because if you live somewhere and the land resonates with you, that's your place. I went to London. I was only in London for 10 days. I was only in England for 10 days. And boy, I tell you, I had like a huge spiritual awareness. Like I'd been there before, like I'd lived there before. I felt so at home. My soul felt so at home in England. I can't even tell you. And now as I've gotten older, and now as I've begun to understand things like mana and aloha and ha. We'll get to ha tomorrow. I know you're just like ha? Like ha? No, not like ha, but ha. But spelled the same as ha, but just one ha. But we'll get to that. And I think having this spiritual awakening that we talked about last Monday and having this spiritual awareness, I realize now why I connect so much with my Irish side and my Hawaiian side, why I've always tried to really just kind of dive into both of those, even though I am incredibly multinational. Hybrid Muddy and I do not call each other Muddy for no reason. We call each other Muddy because when we first met, we both realized we were super mutts, and we became the Mutt twins. So that being said, they're both very spiritual or magical places, however you want to put it. They're both, like the idea of the Celts, and the Irish and the history of the Irish, even some parts of England. But for me, and Scotland, the whole UK can be kind of a magical place. But I really kind of tied in for some reason. I zeroed in on the Irish side, and I started studying about the Celts. I started studying about, their traditions and all these other things and their gods and goddesses. And, I started, really kind of diving into the deep end now in Hawaii, because I feel it now. I feel it within me. I feel it within my bones. I finally feel like I can connect to my ancestors in both of these places. Actually, my ancestors across the board, but really in those two places, because I feel like if you really want to step into the spiritual side, this is where the veils are the most thinnest in my entire multinational mutthood. These are the places that are so spiritual that, you go out into you can pull along a highway on the H1, H2, or the Pali Highway, especially the Pali Highway. You can pull just to the side of the road and you can just feel it. You can feel the earth just existing below you. You can feel the earth breathing below you. And I know it sounds silly, and a lot of people are going to be like, I'm turning this off. Please don't. Because stepping into our spiritual side, it means opening our heart and opening our minds without question. It's accepting things that we have been told not to accept. That there's only one way on this. There's only one path on this. I hope my cousin doesn't mind me sharing this. Jeannie, can I share your journey that you've been on? Your spiritual journey? I want to get her permission first, and at least she's on, so I can ask her. Because I'm going to, if she gives me permission, I'm going to find a way to tie this in to what I'm talking about. Because it is about connection. And even Sammy and I were talking about Mr. Thurman last week. And Mr. Thurman is a lot like us. He had a very bad experience within the church. I believe it was, Sammy, was it when his father died? I'm trying to remember. And I guess his father wasn't very religious, and the pastor basically, long story short, told him, your father's going to hell. And it's like, no. I don't believe that kind of God exists. I believe the kind of God that exists is the one that says, if your mana is strong, if you are good to other people, if you remember if you live righteously and you show respect to the people and the land, then hey, welcome. you know. And so Mr. Thurman did believe in God, like Sammy and I do, but he walked more of a spiritual path, not so much religion. For me, it had nothing bad happened to me in religion. Okay. I think a lot of it was I was rebelling against my mother because religion saved my mother. I don't know in what way or how, but she always used to tell me that religion kept me sane. You know, my faith and being Catholic kept me sane. But again, having grown up with an atheist and a Catholic, I started to see things differently. I started to look at the entire world. Just, you know, the Bible takes place, yes, but there's so much other stuff going on in the world that isn't in the Bible. And I started to look at all that. I started to look at the other things. And I'll be honest, I definitely say I'm a polytheist, but I'm probably polyreligious too, because I pull what works for me from all religions. You know, from Buddhism. There's some Hindu things that are so fascinating to me. Catholicism, Christianity. My cousin Jeannie currently has been doing a 21-day, I told her it's like short Lent, okay? You had to sacrifice some things. And, you know, you had to work on your relationship with God. And so she's been doing a workbook, daily, not affirmations, not meditations, daily somethings. I'm sure she'll fill in the blank for me. And she's found that she's watching, less stuff. She's doing less things than she did. And she's growing in her spirituality. She's really coming back into focus with her relationship with God. Now, if you hear the word God, don't leave, because it's not about religion. The reason I wanted to talk about what my cousin, devotions, that's it. Thank you. She's been doing her daily devotions. So whether you do daily devotions, whether you're just spiritual and walk out in nature, this is what mana is about. It's about strengthening that spiritual power within you, that authority. So spiritual power, a divine energy within us. We all have this spiritual power, but as we go along, I would say that we're born with this, right? We're born with this spiritual power. Like, say you're at 100% when you're born, but conditioning, like parental conditioning, people, just life conditioning, right? Life conditioning can make you feel like, well, I can't do this, I can't be this, I can't have that. And, they teach you that it's not okay to ask for things. They teach you that it's not okay to want things, to desire things. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as it doesn't become your sole focus and you start stepping on people to get it. But spiritual power, as we go along and we're taught to believe a very specific way, we might lose our way. That spiritual power battery may start going down and down and down to the point where you're like at maybe 30% and you're going, what is happening right now? Why can't I get anything to work for me? Why can't I manifest this? Why can't I pray for that? My spiritual awakening was literally ripping away everything I've been taught throughout my life. I have a gift. I can somehow communicate through the veil. I don't know how. I don't know why. I know it runs in my family. There's a bit of a psychic thing that runs through my family. My cousin has it. My cousin or baby sibling has it way more than I do. But I was also raised to think that, if you see a ghost or you talk to a ghost, it's a demon. Which isn't true. Okay? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to step on people's beliefs, but it's not true at all. How many people miss messages from loved ones because they've been taught that it's bad? I mean, you got to discern, okay? Don't just let anything in. Don't play with Ouija boards if you don't understand how to use them. If you know how to use them, use them. But people tend to open that door and then they never close it because they think it's a frickin' game. And it's not a game. It's a communication tool. All right? It's a very cheap cell phone. To the other side. And then you got to clean up their messes. Had to clean up a few of those. But anyways, I do draw on my ancestors for this. My Auntie Maxine was very, very misunderstood. And it turns out somebody else in my family, which just happened to be my grandmother, was the one that was misusing her gifts. And, and so I'm kind of here now. I feel like a lot of the things that haven't happened in my life is because I've had to clean up their karma. And that may not make sense to a lot of people, but the one or two of you that are going to watch this, it's going to make perfect sense. And you're going to go, oh yeah, I get that. You have to sweep up their karma. So you basically have to sacrifice everything else in your life to do it. And I'm not complaining because I'm 52, right? No way I'm having kids at this point. But, I want to make sure that for all the other people and all my nieces and nephews that come after that, they're able to walk a line that isn't affected by our ancestors. And that's our spiritual power, the life force, an invisible energy that flows through all things. People think I'm nuts. Do you want to know why I name cars? I'll tell you why I name my car. I'll tell you why I name my phone. I'll tell you why I name pretty much anything I own, even if it's electronic, because everything has an energy running through it. People will say, well, cars don't have energy. Metal, my friends, comes from the earth. It may be shaped and formed into something that resembles a car, but it still had a life force energy. Rocks, right? Rocks have a life force energy. I mean, I'm looking for a crystal right now, and of course I can't find any, but they're all behind me. But, you see my point there, right? We're talking about, like those are rocks. I like this because I feel validated. An invisible energy that flows through all things. All things. This is why we have to respect the earth. This is why we have to respect Mother Nature. This is why, we have to take care of our environment around us. One of the most profound things that I've ever experienced in my entire life was during COVID. It was about 2 months into COVID. And, the whole world is shut down, right? And, so a lot of people aren't going anywhere. A lot of people are working from home. And I was sitting outside one day and the breeze was really nice. So I kept the gate open and I didn't realize why I kept the gate open until I saw what I saw. And I told older sibling, I said, this was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was a little misty outside. We had a little bit of fog, so the fog was lifting. I saw the tree breathing, not breathing like we do. I could see the air. Trees create oxygen, right? I could see it because the mist was basically highlighting it. And I have a video of it somewhere. I have to find it. But I could see the oxygen coming out of this tree. And I was just like, God really wanted me to see this. One of my spiritual powers, my higher powers, really wanted me to see this. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Because we know that trees create our oxygen. Some people are just too dense to realize that, but we get a lot of our oxygen from plants and trees, okay? And to be able to see it giving life to everything around it, because the world was still, the air was clean. And if you don't believe me when I say the air was clean, LA at one point was #1 for clean air. That never happens. You know how many cars are in LA? Traffic isn't because people don't necessarily know how to drive. It's because there's too many people. But anyways, so everything has a life force energy. Authority, power in a general sense, like parental authority or mana makua. To me, it is a responsibility or a sense of it. So when we say authority, they don't mean go over there and, when they say parental authority, I think what they're talking about is just the guidance, right? You have to wield this power in a beautiful way, not in a mean way, not in a horrible way. When I was talking about, the parental interruptions that we might have had growing up and how they teach us to think and how they teach us to really kind of, narrow our path of what we're open-minded to. It's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of times what's happening is they're just passing down what they've learned. They're just passing down what they know. And there's a fear in there. And so as I got older and I started to teach my mom a lot of this stuff, like, I said, look, I'm not trying to step on your Catholicism, but let me explain my spirituality side, because she was always nervous about it. And I told her, I said, look, I don't care what you say. I'm not going to hell. All right. Or whatever they call it. I said, because I'm not a bad person. I may act bad sometimes. Sometimes I am not the nicest person, but the point is that I said, I think God wants you to think outside the book. Okay, think outside the book. And I asked her that. I said, do you really think that this person is going to send someone somewhere else? Do you really think Dad is going to be separated from you when, you two are off on the other side of the veil? I said, no. That's what the book wants you to think, but that's not the truth. And you're sitting here going, well, how do you know the truth? When you open your mind and you step into something, you realize that we're a very small piece of something very big. A very small piece of something very big. And I would say that the authority for us is, kind of being the guardian, kind of being the nurturer and the protector of those we care about and everything around us. Like, the parental authority, the mana makua, the parental strength. So, and just so you know, makua is parent. So if you had like makua kane is like your father. So, so the next one, charisma and presence. A person with strong mana can have a positive influence and light up the room. I agree with this. And here's the reason why. It's not just because they have strong mana. I believe a person that has strong mana is a person that literally just encompasses who they are. My cousin right now, going through her 21 days of spiritual devotions, and she's decided to continue it. She decided to keep going because it's doing so much for her. It's helping her walk more of probably an enlightened path that she's wanted to walk, but she's been so busy doing all kinds of things. So now I would say what's really happening, in my opinion, cousin, is that you're finally taking time for yourself, and you're not just keeping yourself busy, but you're actually looking within. You're going deep. You're becoming that spiritual being that you've always been. And the charisma and presence, to me, being the mana, I'm sorry guys, it is so hot. It is so humid and I can't open my window. It's just being at one with your spiritual side. It's being at peace with that spiritual side. It's being open-minded. It's being, open-hearted. It's allowing you to just look at the world differently, not just through angry eyes and not through rose-colored glasses, but it's looking at the world exactly as it is and saying, you know what? I can put some love into this world, even if it's just to one person. Even if you just share your umbrella, which will be something that we're going to talk about later, because I think that's under the Ha or the Aloha. That's what it's about. Yes, and as Jeannie said, rest for the soul as well. It is. You're giving your body a reset. You're giving your body this awareness of, seeing everything around you, loving everything around you, even in the darkest moments, even when it's hard. Because sometimes that's what we need to do. When we put love back into something, it might change the situation. So we're going to go to how mana is gained and lost. Gaining mana, living with pono. So if you've ever heard me talk about the ho'oponopono, that's exactly what it is. Morality and righteousness. And the ho'oponopono is 4 simple phrases. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now, you may be saying, why do I have to say, please forgive me? It may not be to anybody else but yourself. You may be saying, please forgive me, to forgive however you may have reacted to the situation. But it doesn't always necessarily mean that kind of forgiveness, like you did something wrong. It's basically what it's doing is it's scrubbing you clean. So something you may have done 10 years ago that you don't remember, you're saying, please forgive me, thank you. And you're clearing that out. And so, I love you. And that could be someone that you're talking to, or it could be yourself, or it could be the situation. I'm sorry. And again, you may not have to be apologizing for something you didn't do, but you're sorry about this situation, that it even happened, even if it wasn't your fault. Please forgive me. Please forgive this situation, even if it was not your fault. Thank you. Because gratitude is everything. Gratitude 100% is everything. When you wake up in the morning, you should be saying thank you. If you have a higher power, thank you, higher power, for another day. When you go to bed, thank you. If you want to pray before you eat, thank you. You don't even have to pray if you don't want to. You can just simply say thank you for this meal. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and for some reason I'm obsessed a little bit with some of these Japanese accounts, right? Where they just kind of do like these, they travel on the capsule hotels, the trains, and all the ferries and all this other stuff. But every time this one person that I follow on YouTube eats, he just says, thank you for this meal, or thank you for the good food, you know, but there's always gratitude in there. And there doesn't have to be, and they don't even have to put it, because obviously everything is closed caption, right? Subtitled, but they don't have to say that. They can just say, oh yeah, and they may say it in their head, but I like that they put it on there because it reminds us to be thankful for everything. I am thankful for my cup. If I didn't go out with my cousins yesterday, I would have never found this delightful mug. And it's huge. Look at it next to my head. It's huge. So yeah, so when you gain mana, living with Pono, or morality and righteousness, acting respectfully, serving the community, and choosing meaningful work can strengthen one's mana. Now, nobody's saying that, you know, in order to strengthen your mana, you have to run out there and start volunteering for everything. Just be a good person. These are just examples. Just be a good person. Okay? I mean, if someone's in the crosswalk, don't be giving them the hands because they're walking too slow. That's just people nowadays. They don't care. But keep your mana good by just going, okay, you know what, this is how it is. Doesn't mean you have to like it, but that doesn't mean you have to give them the bird either. So, you know, or even, you know, if you're sitting in the center of a bench and you see somebody wanting to sit down, just scoot over. Say, hey, would you like to sit? That's mana. That's being of service to other people. It doesn't mean you have to go out and volunteer for everything. Because some people don't have that time. Some people don't have that extra time. You could do it as a family if you want to have family time. And I'm not saying don't go volunteer. If you want to volunteer, absolutely. But don't do it because you're like, oh, I got to strengthen my mana. Do it because it comes from the heart. Because that's where the mana is going to come from. Actions can also lead to a loss of mana, your skewed moral compass, as it is seen as a dynamic force. Sammy knows my face right now because I'm holding back on what I'd really like to say about skewed moral compasses. Right, girl? I know, hybrid muddy. We have some of these conversations about certain things. But yeah, be a good person, all right? Don't step on other people to get what you want. Don't berate other people and then turn around and do dumb things. All right, because remember, when you're pointing, three of these digits are pointing right back. So when you're pointing, just remember, no matter how hard you try to point, you know. Cultural significance, connection. Mana is a fundamental thread that connects Hawaiian people to their past, present, and future, as well as each other. I do believe all people have it, and I'm about to go spiritual on you again. And I don't mean spiritual religious wise. I mean spiritual. All right. I never met my Auntie Maxine in person. I have communicated with her through the veil. And I don't want you to think I'm crazy. I don't want you to think, you know, to stop watching the show, because I do think that, you know, and I have a lot of input from a lot of people. I find things online that I think would be good to share. Because like I said, if I share my story and it helps someone heal theirs, that's great. If I share something that I found online and one person feels seen or feels like, hey, this can start my journey, that's great. And you don't have to believe what I believe. I'm not trying to push my beliefs on anyone, but I know what I know. And I've been validated by another family member who has also been able to communicate, you know, and who has kind of guided me through this. I have received a lot of validation from things that I have shared with people, or things that, you know, just kind of fly out of my face, that I don't even see coming. But my Auntie Maxine has been, she's a part of my past because she is my ancestor now. And she has been a part of my present because she has helped guide me and shape a little bit of this journey from the other side. Older sibling, Sammy, baby sibling, they've all helped me on this journey. Some of the bestie and even some family members have been able to validate me when I've shared something, even some friends. And it's not a gift that I'm comfortable with my gift, but I'm not confident in my gift. So I don't normally just walk up to someone and go, hey, blah, 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 blah. Because sometimes I doubt myself, and sometimes I'm afraid, what if I'm wrong? They're going to think I'm nuts. And one of the reasons I haven't done that is because there are a lot of good mediums out there. There are a lot of good psychics out there that do not take advantage of people. Yes, they may charge you because they're trying to make a living. They're making a living off of their gift. Just like a doctor would charge you, an acupuncturist would charge you, a nurse would charge you. But they're taking care of your spiritual needs. They're like spiritual doctors, and I don't want to ruin the reputation that a lot of good ones have, because a lot of people will just sit there and go, they're hokey, they're fake, they're, full of shit and blah, blah, blah. There are some people who are. There are some people who pretend to have a gift, or who just are really good at profiling people and just using that on them. Sissy Joe had paid an exorbitant amount of money to somebody that I was never, she was a famous medium, and I never ever trusted her or believed in her. And the message that she gave Sissy Joe when I was sitting there, I'm sitting there like, what the hell is this woman talking about? She's not even close on anything. And then I thought, well, maybe she's actually accidentally reading me. And it's like, no, she's not close on that either. Nowhere near it. And so, and later they found out that she was a bit more on the fraudulent side. I think she may have had a good couple of hits sometimes, but that makes everybody else look bad. And that's not my goal. So I kind of keep my stuff to myself or within my own group of people. But I do believe that your mana, your spiritual power, can connect you to the past, the present, and the future if you allow it to. If you allow it to, just like my mom. I think my mom tries to share her spiritual, her spiritual prowess even now, with my family members, with my cousins, people that were able to turn to her when she was alive. I think they can turn to her now and say, hey, Auntie, can you help me? And I know that she would be there like that, because that's the kind of person my mom was. When I don't know, that's just, that flew out of my mouth. So I think that's a message for somebody, Jeannie. I think my mom's trying to tell you, if you ever need, a little bit of company, just, she's not, just ask her by name. Don't just say Auntie, or all your aunties are going to show up. But yeah, but I believe my Auntie Maxine really has helped me along the way, has really kind of, has helped me shape the direction I've been going in, and my spiritual power. So the sacredness, places and things with a lot of mana are considered special, sacred, and set apart. In Asia especially, not just Hawaii, but in Asia, you will find a lot of temples. Oh, and even Mexico. You will find a lot of temples. You will find a lot of statues. You will find a lot of things. Churches, where there's a lot of symbolism. Maybe nature. There might be a park with a circle. Believe it or not, that can be a welcoming geometric shape, because nobody is better than each other. You're just all on this perfect circle. And maybe you're facing each other, maybe you're not. But in a way, everybody's energy is, aimed towards the middle. And maybe somebody walks through it, and maybe they're having a bad day, right? And then everybody who you meet, maybe you're reading, maybe you're drinking coffee, but you're in the circle, somebody walks through, and you may not even realize it, but they may have walked through and just kind of observed everyone and thought, but what they're doing is they're picking up on your energy. They're picking up on this good energy. And immediately, without even realizing it, you have helped someone through their day. And if you don't think that's possible, think back on a time when you passed a group of people, and all of a sudden, it's just like the whole world just seemed to make sense again after being angry. And then, so, sacred places are set apart. And again, like churches, right? Churches aren't, well, some are in buildings, like office buildings and stuff, but they are set apart in their own way. And then lastly, internal power. The principle of mana emphasizes that true power comes from within us. It does. Open your heart, open your mind. Let the spirit of, let the spiritual power just encompass you. If your spiritual power is your higher power, great. Then let it encompass you. Let it fill you with its joy, its love, its peace. Are we going to feel joy, love, and peace every single moment of our lives? Probably not. I am sure that even the Dalai Lama has a bad day. Or at least a day where he shakes his head, which could be a bad day, okay? But even he probably looks at the world sometimes and goes, "Hoy, I got a lot of work to do." And that's what we need to do. We need to start putting our mana into this world. We need to start believing in ourselves, finding that spiritual core, that spiritual center within us that says, hey, you know what? I am looking at the world not through rose-colored glasses, not through angry eyes, but I'm looking and saying to myself, what can I do? What can I add to this world? What can I add to the energy? Do I want to keep adding negative energy, or do I want to add a positive energy? Do I want to add love? Because love is missing. A lot of it is missing. And if that means saying, hey God, can you give me a spiritual shield and sword because I'm ready to fight for you? Or whoever your higher power is, whoever sits at your spiritual table. In my case, it's quite a few. But, or you can say, hey Jesus, you know what? I know you were a hippie and a bit of a flower child. Please teach me how, I know you overturned tables in that temple that day. But it was because you were angry about a lot of different things. And you were young. But then you grew up and said, hey, you know what? You forgave the people who basically put you on the cross, right? How do you do that? And I'm sure he was a little angry, right? Oh my God, why have you forsaken me? But yeah, Jesus was basically a community organizer and a hippie. I would say more a hippie when he was younger and more a flower child when he got older. Jesus was a flower child. Peace and love. Peace and love. He showed compassion to the prostitute, right? Mary Magdalene. Other people looked down on her, even his apostles, but he looked at her and said, this is a child of God. This is a person who is just trying to do something kind for me. Service. She was being of service, right? Community. She was building her mana and she didn't even realize it, but she was trying to do something for someone who was weary. Someone who needed someone to show him that he was loved. Not just the people who followed him, but somebody apart from them. I have a lot of my own ideas about Mary Magdalene. Not bad ones either. But yeah, she showed us how to be of service to other people. And to not, and Jesus showed us how to not look down on other people who we might think are lower. Like if you're passing someone and they're a prostitute, don't look down on them. If you're a person that prays, pray for them because you don't know what got them there. You don't know what their story is. When we see homeless people, pray for them because you don't know what got them there. You don't know how they ended up there. People have a story. And when we diminish their mana, their spiritual mana, when we diminish that, we diminish our own. We shouldn't be looking down on people. We should be looking at them. We should be hoping for better for them. We should be hoping that the world turns around and starts to take care of its people. That we start to turn around and take care of our people. And, that's what mana is about. Mana is about loving one another. It's about that spiritual power that gives us strength when we think we don't have any left. And we all have that spiritual power. We just have to figure out where that battery is. Do you need a recharge? If you do, you can even look online. There's, I have an entire morning routine, and part of it is a Hawaiian chant. And it's one of my favorites because it talks about mana. And, and you don't have to know it by heart. But there is a follow-up, like the lady chants and then the group. Boom. All these beautiful things that are filled within us. You know, I mean, I've always been proud to be a Hawaiian. Believe it or not, I think I actually have more Irish than I have Hawaiian. But I did grow up in the Hawaiian culture. So, but I don't think until I had my spiritual awakening that I truly understood what a gift it was to grow up in this culture. And not just the community and the ohana and the family and the aloha and all these other things, but deeper for me, the spiritual connection to my ancestors, the spiritual connection to this magical island or chain of islands. And that can be anywhere. It doesn't just have to be Hawaii. It could be right where you're from. It could be Rancho San Diego, Spring Valley. It could be Los Angeles. It could be the Valley. You know, it could be anywhere in this world. But there are some places where I think the energy is just a little bit stronger. And that might be the draw for people to go to Hawaii. Oh, when I go to Hawaii, I feel so relaxed when I come back. It's not just the beaches. It's the lifestyle. It's the people. It's the land. It's like, you know, putting your battery or putting your phone on one of those battery pads and you're getting recharged. And I think Ireland's like that. Somebody's sitting here saying there's a place in South America. There's places everywhere. You just have to know where to find them. If you feel drawn to go somewhere and you don't know why, it's because your soul is telling you. I rejuvenated in London. Not going to lie. Actually in England. I can't just say London. Avebury was probably my favorite place. It's a little bit like Stonehenge, but you can touch the stones. And it's actually a town that's encompassed by the Sarsen stones, which is basically what Stonehenge is made out of. And I'm not saying that it's because, oh, the Druids sat there and all these magical things. No, it's because there was just something about the land. And at the time, I probably thought, yeah, I'm magical, you know, but now when I think back on it, it's just, it left me feeling like I would feel when I'd go to Hawaii. There was a recharge happening. So don't be afraid to, yes, Pura Vida in South America. Thank you, Sammy. See, she's not just my hybrid muddy. She's like a quarter of my brain. All right. And I say a quarter because there's a few people that gets all stuck up in my brain. But anyways, so yeah, I hope all of this made sense. I apologize if it didn't. I am kind of learning this as you are learning this. And I'm really kind of just sinking into the idea of all these things while you guys are. And that's why I wanted to talk about it now, because I feel whatever flies out of my mouth, I'm going to learn from it too. But long story short, keep your mana strong. Keep your spiritual power strong. If you have a bad day, it's okay. That doesn't mean your mana is going right to zero. It just means that you know, or you realize, hey, you know what? I can't keep going through this day angry. I've got to do something. I've got either, whether it's, you know, like my cousin's devotions, or for me, sometimes I just jump into the pool because the water calms me. It's not always about the exercise. You know, water is just my happy place. The ocean, the pool, whatever. You know, lakes kind of freak me out, I admit. But, I know, I don't know what it is. Probably because I saw Friday the 13th when I was a kid. There's Jason sitting at the bottom of the lake. But I know, my imagination. But yeah, keep your mana strong. And, you know, if you want to have a lazy day, it doesn't mean your mana is weak. It means your body is recharging. Okay? Rest is always a good thing. And like I said, if you are angry or you're having a bad day, soak it in, understand it, give it a little place, love it, heal it, let it go. Okay? The simpler part of that is, if you're angry, give it some space, give it some understanding, heal it, let it go. Heal it and let it go. Show it some love. Because there's a reason, all right? We're not perfect. We're human. And we're going to have bad days. And that's okay. All right? So keep your mana strong. And yeah, just go out there and be a good person. You want strong mana? Be a good person. That's all you got to do. Just be a good person. And be a good person without expecting something back. We don't do things to, you know, we don't do things in anticipation of reciprocation. We do things because it comes from the inside. It comes from the mana. It comes from the heart. It comes from that spiritual power that is within us. And you don't have to be religious. Spiritual is not a religious word. Spiritual is a way of life. It is a path that you walk. It is a choice that you make. And it's not necessarily tied into an entity or a higher power. It's tied into you and the path you choose and how you choose to wield the knowledge that, you have gained throughout your path. Okay, so I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Tomorrow we're going to talk about ha. I probably shouldn't say it like ha, but it's ha, ha, ha. I'm sorry, I'm making myself laugh now. But anyways, tomorrow we're going to talk about ha, ha. Just ha, okay? Just ha. All right. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, seriously, now I can't stop. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day, wherever you are in the world, whenever you're watching this. And if you're watching this right before bed, I hope tomorrow's a great day and you have a wonderful sleep. So again, I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch under Shelley Marie Lucas. And you can find me across the social media board, either under Shelley Marie Lucas, the Aloha Perspective, or on Twitter, Shellbell's Quest. All right. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Jeannie, Sammy, thank you both so much for coming on, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I think this was a good start to our week to remind ourselves of the spiritual power, or as you can call it, mana, right? Mana that exists within all of us. Have a great day.